Episode 269, the follow-along series with Sidney Smith. Welcome to the pursuit of the perfect race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We'll hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in it for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pursuit of the Perfect Race. Today I'm continuing the follow-along series for the month of April for Sidney Smith. Welcome back to the show, Sidney. I look forward to talking with you about the exciting things that have happened since we talked last time, man.
Yeah, it's been a little while, but at the same time, it seems like it's been going pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, we're already almost halfway through May, recording April's episode. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to sugarcoat this. This is a late episode because of my finals and busyness with traveling for my race and trying to catch up on stuff. So how have you been since we talked last time with March?
Oh, March was a fun month just because it was starting to get a little bit warmer. And April was a good month just because I'd be able to do some stuff outside. The training has ramped up. I'm starting to see progress. I'm losing weight. Wattage on the bike got better. Running was getting better. And then May came and had an incident that kind of pushed everything way back. So May so far has not been a good month.
All right. I mean, do we want to go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room now, or do we want to save that for later?
It's up to you. It's your show.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's just save that for the end so that we can just have something good to talk about for sure. So with April, what was your training like in April compared to the rest of the year so far, and how has it been? Were you adapting really well for it?
Yeah, I'm starting to figure out more of a rhythm, like as far as diet goes, sleep patterns, scheduling a little bit better, preparing better. My body became, it was the norm. It wasn't hard to get up at 4:30. It wasn't hard to go to bed at 8:30. And the workouts just felt more natural just because I figured out when to nutrition a little bit more better on timing. And then outside, I had a great ride with a friend of mine. We just had, it was 63 all day, no wind. I wanted to do about a 3-hour ride with him, and it was just so nice. We ended up going for almost 5, and which is my longest in the saddle and the furthest distance. We've been about 75 miles, and it was just awesome to the point where it's like the vision of this Ironman has become more realistic. And if you haven't done one before, I'm sure everybody that's never done one think sometime in their head, is this, humanly possible? Is this, because it sounds crazy. And now I'm to the point where I was like, yeah, I can see it happen. And if I wanted to, I felt like I could push 100. No, 75 was a good workout. It was a good hurdle mentally, physically. My coach was real happy about it. And then recovery actually wasn't as bad as I thought either.
Wow. So how did the stumps hold up with this long of a ride?
They went well. If it was hot, and then it would have caused more sweat, and where the most of the pressure is just right around the shin bone, I probably would have had some chafing or a blister of some sort if it was a little bit more sweaty. So typically there might be a time where I would stop and exchange my sweat socks. But in this case, it was fine. It was, a little sore. The muscles started to become fatigued, and nutrition was much needed. But for the most part, I felt hydrated. I felt good. My butt hurt, but it wasn't to the point where I couldn't go further.
Right. So in April, how was the support you were getting from your family, friends, and some of the people you work with? Because, I mean, anybody that's been around a triathlete knows that they're going to brag about what they're doing. And I'm sure almost everybody knows that you're signed up for an Ironman by now.
Oh, absolutely. It's the topic of conversation that anytime I come out, are you still doing that? Or, man, you're crazy. You're crazy, man. There's something wrong with you. No, the support has been good on some sides. I have some reservations. I call those people team Take It Easy. They're key people in my life, both being my parents, and, even some close people at work that, just have that mother bear concern for me that, they see how much I work out, and they don't, they don't want anything bad to obviously happen. And of course there's other people that look at it as, a selfish sport because you're taking away time from family, and they may not understand the dynamics of it and the sacrifices the way I see it and the way that I've prepared my family for. But for the most part, I think support's been good, with a few people not quite understand the ins and outs of training.
Now, and they were already like this before the elephant in the room happened?
Yeah. In fact, a lot of recommendations, you should just do, the relay. That's this. I'm like, no, it's not the same. It's not the same. Or just stick to halves. You like those and you do those well. Why? What do you have to prove? And so just they're great people and I love them to death. And I know their intentions isn't to be, to destroy your dreams or, I just think it's an education thing. They may not understand, that coached properly and in the right plan and nutrition, this is possible even for a guy that doesn't have legs.
All right. How has your weight been? Have you lost weight? Have you gained weight? What's this like?
Yeah, a couple pounds each week. And then the incident, elephant in the room, I guess we'll call it. I lost about 13 just right after that.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Man. So, that was all of April. April went well as far as training. Support was good. Did 75 miles in April. How was the swim and the run in April?
Run has been good. It's just, I'm kind of worried a little bit that, that it's more timed in distance. And so my mind keeps going back. Okay, you gotta do 26 miles. It's, when do you think you're going to get close to that? When your long runs? But some of my best runs were in April. There's nice outside. I, felt that endurance, or the stamina, be more secure on my runs. My joints felt good. The sockets that I were using, were a little bit more comfortable on certain, downhill runs. So run's fine, and swim is just amazing. Like, I'm in the best swimming shape I feel like I've been. I mean, I feel I can go forever and not feel like I have to eat a box of donuts afterwards. So
I still feel like I need a box of donuts.
Swimming does it to me, but it's gotten better.
Okay. So walk me through, I mean, we haven't really done this yet, so walk me through what it's like to actually put your socket in your leg zone. What's that like?
Like in the morning or when I'm racing?
Yeah.
So it depends on kind of the activities that happen the day before. If there's running, my limb's going to swell up at nighttime. So what I wear is it's almost like a compression sleeve, that has a little bit more stronger fabrics to it. And they call it a stump shrinker. And what that does, it helps maintain the shape of my limb. And so when I wake up, they fit. Sometimes it doesn't fit very well and it's very painful. It's too tight. It feels like it's choking and it becomes, really uncomfortable. And then sometimes, it fits just fine. But I start off, I make sure that, that the liners to my, let me rewind here real quick. I start off and I wear a sock. It's like a Swiftwick makes them, and it's a stump sock, and that just kind of helps with some of the friction in the moisture. And then after that, I slip on a liner. It's kind of like a polyurethane material that's soft and it has a ring around it, and that ring acts as a suction cup that then goes into my socket, the black carbon fiber piece. And then as I slide down in there, all the air goes out. And then that suction ring, kind of looks like a mushroom, goes and holds the limb to the socket. And then to pull out, I would need to, there's a air release valve that then releases the air pressure so I can come out of my socket. So that's pretty much in a nutshell of the process. It can take, 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes I clean things up so that way there's nothing dirty or, like bacteria, just to be safe.
All right. Now, it seems like you could actually use the excuse, hey, my legs don't fit today. I can't come into work. Have you ever thought about that?
No, well, I most of my work that I do is at the desk, so that's not really something I can use. I have crutches, I have a wheelchair, and I have used them before. In fact, I have crutches now. Not to do a spoiler alert, but yeah, I haven't used that excuse, but that I don't think it will fly.
Man, so we haven't really addressed phantom pain either. For those that don't know, phantom pain is basically someone without a limb, like yourself, can still feel the pain or still feel like their foot itches or their toes are cramping and things like that. Do you still get that?
Yeah, I do. It goes in waves. There'll be times that I'll get them at night and or I'm sitting down at a movie or something like that, and I could I feel it for me, it goes in between like a sensation. So it feels like when you sprain your ankle and it's just that dull ache. You're not sitting or standing on it, it's just that dull ache. Sometimes I'll feel that. And it's just continuous. And then sometimes it's like when you're coming around a corner and you jam your pinky toe, it's like that. And so sometimes people think I have Tourette's because I'll just have a normal conversation or I'm just sitting there and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh God. So there are those moments. When I first lost the limbs, they were quite more extreme and more often, but now it's maybe a few times a day that I'll feel that phantom pain.
Wow. And they make medicine for that. Do you take any medicine for that?
No. Yeah, there's nerve pain, like gabapentin and stuff like that. But I don't like medicine. I have tried it and I don't like the way I feel. So I stay away from that stuff. There are some side effects to it too. So
side effects?
There's, with gabapentin, some people have gained weight. They become irritable. I became irritable. I didn't really like that. I didn't feel, I like my body was trying to calm down and I felt like I had spasms still. And it just, I didn't think it worked. I'd rather feel natural in myself than to, have that medicine. So I'm fine with these little spurts of phantom pain here and there than to deal with that kind of medicine.
So how long does each little burst last? Is it just a few seconds or what?
Yeah, usually a few seconds. The sensations can last, 5 minutes or so. It is a mental thing, but it's not. It's more your subconscious. It's not something that I can just like focus on something else and it would go away. Those nerves were forever, millions and millions of times a second is going back and forth. And so it's just kind of that memory that going back, even though I've been an amputee for 3 years, it's still there embedded in your nerves, in your brain. So, some people think it's crazy and it's not real and that it's just a mental thing. You could overcome it. And I strongly disagree that it's not something that you could just, focus on something else and it goes away. It just happens.
Right. So, how's the kids doing?
They're good. Graduation for preschool was this last week. So my 5-year-old's been graduated. My other kids are finishing up school. So we'll be starting summer fun, summer vacations here shortly.
Nice. And the wife?
What's that?
And the wife?
End of life.
And the wife. Sorry.
Oh, and the wife. Sorry,
my country accent gets some people. Sorry.
And the wife. She's doing good. She has been training. She's when this all happened and I started running, I was motivated, inspired, whatever you want to call it, to run. She never ran either. And she did her first 5K here a couple of years ago. And then she did a 10K, and then she always wanted to make a goal to do a half marathon. Well, we had a baby, and things were crazy, yada, yada, yada. So this year, she started January 1st and started training for a half marathon. So she had just completed her first half marathon, here a few weekends ago, and it was awesome. I was as excited to see her cross the finish line than as much as it was for me when I crossed the first finish line. So I was pretty proud of her.
Wow. That's pretty awesome, man. And you weren't even going to mention that if I didn't ask about her.
Yeah. No, I probably wouldn't have. She, I totally forgot about that. But yeah, she's been training and she wants to, the awesome thing is, it's not like I check it off my list and I'm done. She wants to do another one, which is way cool. So
that's good. I mean, that bug bit and it left an impression.
Yeah. Now, to get her to do an Ironman or a triathlon, that's a whole other thing. She's afraid of the water, so.
Well, so we got to get her to do something like Chattanooga where the swim is cut a little bit, and then you can just float downriver and you're good. like literally, the current was so strong, they let the pros go upstream, but us age groupers, we went downstream only. So that was kind of nice. I had a 19-minute swim.
Holy
I'm
cow.
good with that.
Oh, wow.
It was awesome. So I guess to go ahead and address the elephant in the room, what happened, man?
Oh man, let's just say it was a whirlwind. A lot of crazy emotions, but I'll just start from the top. It was a Saturday. It would have been.
Which Saturday was it?
It was whatever the last Saturday in May, last Saturday in April was.
Okay, so the 27th.
27th, yep. The 27th, I had scheduled for a 3-hour ride. I could have loaded it up to the Wahoo, which I, kind of wish I did, but instead it was supposed to be a beautiful day. I just got a wheel set. I wanted to try it out. I wanted to take some KOMs, all that stuff. On Strava, and I went for about 2 hours into the ride. I started feeling really fatigued, and I couldn't figure out because I'd been eating good and I was really cold, and it was nice outside. It was 65 or so, and I just started getting really dizzy. So I thought, crap, maybe it was something I ate or maybe I'm getting sick. So I decided I made it about a 2.5 hour ride. And as soon as I, got into my garage, put my bike away, I walked in, I just started shaking. the chills like crazy. And so I called my wife, and they were at a soccer game, and I just told her, I feel like crap. I'm going to get in the shower. So I got in the shower, and I just could not get warm. And so I wasted all the hot water in the water tank, and I still couldn't get warm. So I figured I was fevering up. And I thought, well, maybe I just caught a really bad, bug or a cold, from training, outside. And I mean, it was cold in the morning, but not the elements weren't bad. And so I laid in bed, and I had a fever like I've never had before. It got to about 103. The next day, Sunday, it still was super bad. Ibuprofen, all that Tylenol stuff, trying to keep it down. Finally, the only thing that kept it down and where I could sleep and eat, it was I covered myself in ice packs, and I felt a little bit better. But even then, it was such a bad fever. I called my PA friend, good guy, and he suggested come see me in the morning. I went to his office. We looked at some of the symptoms, and I felt like my limb started to ache on my left side, and I thought, there's a good chance that this could be infected. I didn't have, anything that looked like it was, pussy or anything bad, but it had grown in size, and I didn't injure it because I've never injured myself on a bike ride because there's no major impact. But we treated it like an infection just because of how high my temperature was. So I got some antibiotics to start, and so I started taking those. We jumped on it real quick, and this was Monday. Tuesday rolled around.
How is the wife feeling at this point? I mean, is she worried at all?
No, she's not worried because I've gotten sick before. I've had strep throat. They thought the off chance that maybe I had bruised it, but it had grown quite a bit, length and diameter. She was thought, well, maybe, antibiotics, that's all it needs, and you're good to go. Tuesday rolls around. I actually tried to make it to work, and was still just not eating. I didn't hardly eat anything. My appetite wasn't good. The antibiotics were kind of working, but still my fevers were, consistently high. Wednesday came, which was my birthday, and I didn't do anything because I didn't feel good. I just sat in bed. I thought, man, these antibiotics aren't necessarily working. So I called my friend on Thursday, or my PA friend. I says, hey, my limb, I think, has gone and grown twice as big. I think something's wrong. This antibiotics aren't working. I really think that this is a major infection. And so he's one of my training partners too, and he was on his way to the Ironman St. George, 70.3. So he was unavailable to see me. So he got me in contact with one of the doctors here in town. He squeezed me in. I went to go see him immediately, and he looked at the limb, and his eyes got big. He says, I believe you have an infection. He says, there's really only one way to find out, because it looks like your whole limb is, abscessed. There's only one way to find out, and that's to, poke a big old needle in there and pull whatever's out. And all this, these memories are coming back to my head, because this is, for those that don't know my story, the same thing on the same limb has happened to me before. When I first lost my leg, I had a real bad infection, got big like that. Except, it was pussy out of the scars and stuff like that. It was real nasty. And the end result was bad, that they had to amputate a little bit higher.
So now that here you are thinking you might have to have another piece amputated. Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I was thinking. And
Wow.
and I was hoping, because when I was playing, where I started antibiotics when this all happened, that the doctor was encouraging. He's like, it hasn't been that long, so you might be okay, but let's inject it. First thing he did, he injected it. He found the sac of the abscess and pulled it out, and sure enough, it was full of infection and bacteria. So he's like, "This is an abscess. Antibiotics aren't going to kill it. That's why your limb has gotten so big that you're going to need surgery. And I want you to get an MRI. I want you to get the
X-ray.
X-ray. Thank you. X-ray, MRI, just to make sure. We did they inject me with some kind of, I think they call it a contrast, where it's able to determine where this infection is, how far it's gotten. And we did the X-ray. We set up the appointment for the surgery that night. And this was now an hour's worth of time, an hour and a half's worth of time. And I go from this doctor's appointment to getting prepped for surgery. And they gave me the results of the MRI, and they're like, yeah, it's a bad infection. It's actually started to get into the bone all the way up to the knee. And like, my heart had sunk, because I thought this was.
How do you feel at that point? Because knowing what you've been through already, like, emotionally, that had to be heartbreaking to know, like, this really just went from just a mild fever to a high fever to you might lose more of your leg. Like, that had to be emotionally like a roller coaster. How are you holding up, man?
You know what? Because everything happened so fast and so quickly, and I was septic, like, my thought process wasn't even clear. Like, I was a mess. Like, I couldn't really even text people clearly. I wasn't thinking clearly. So my emotions were not on high alert just because I was out of it. But at the same time, I knew kind of what was going on. I knew the possibility, the risks. I just kind of held on to, my doctor's optimistic approach to, hey, we don't know really until we go in there to see what the bone looks like. You might be okay. I can't imagine that we'd have to go that far just because we caught it soon, but we want to get you through this process and get you cleaned up to this point before we see, what needs to happen from there. So before I went under, that was the news, is that it, the surgery will tell us a lot more as far as the health of the bone.
Okay. To pause you again here, what's the wife and kids think? I mean, where are they at? I mean, are they there with you? What's the situation with them? And I mean, I can imagine your family's being notified that, hey, you're about to have surgery all of a sudden. Like, what's all this?
Well, yeah, the wife was upset, obviously, because it's an inconvenience. She's been through before. She didn't think she'd have to go through surgery and me all over again. A little frustration, a little tension, I should say. Of course, I'm probably I'll admit this on your podcast, because I don't know if my wife will listen to this story. I wasn't completely forthcoming for her as far as the results, just because I didn't want her to have that stress until I knew for sure what was going to happen. So I did not tell her that it had gotten to the point where losing my knee and above, or being above at that point, was it could be an end result. So I just kept that information by myself. I told, she wanted to come to the hospital, but we didn't, at that late of an hour, we didn't have, babysitter filled up. And
what time of day was it?
At this point, after MRI, waiting because the surgery room was being used, trying to piece all these things together. It ended up about 10 o'clock before I signed. And then even then, it was almost midnight by the time they started work on me. So at that point, I didn't want my wife to worry about the kids at that hour. So I just told the doctor, I says, look, she's been through thick and thin with me, obviously, and if possible, just call her, so that way she doesn't have to worry about a babysitter and the kids at that late of an hour. You know, of course, the unknown. What if something, you know, where she has to be even there later? So that was the plan, is to have the doctor call her as soon as I woke up from surgery.
Wow. Like, man, that's a lot to take in, honestly.
Yeah. It was scary for sure. I mean, I had some good friends of mine that heard about it through my wife's friends, and they came into my hospital room and they said a prayer. They gave me a blessing. It's something that my church we have a process as far as like almost like a healing of the sick prayer that we try to do. That just we feel like just adds a little bit maybe to God's help in all this. I was grateful for that. That kind of helped my nerves calm down a little bit. So, but other than that, that was probably where things got scary, is just going through surgery once again.
Man. So they wheel you into the OR, and what is this like for you? I mean, you're at the hospital by yourself at damn near midnight. I mean, this all happened over the course of just a few days, pretty quick. How are you doing, man? Like, that had to be hard for you.
Yeah, it was hard. It was frustrating because, and I kept asking the doctor, again, I wasn't thinking clearly. I just said, so when does this mean I can run? Like, how setback is this? I have this race Ironman that I'm doing. Am I going to be able to do that still? And, he would not answer the questions. He didn't, for one, I don't think he knew for sure the details, but he kept reminding me, he says, hey, calm down. You're thinking too hard in the future. Let's focus on getting this now. I mean, this is in about a few days, this could have gotten to your groin. In a week, it could have gotten into your heart, which, could be fatal. So let's take care of this now. Let's worry about the end after we get this out of you. And so that just kind of reinsurance, not to think about that. My mind kept playing over and over, this, I'm never going to race. I'm never going to do the Ironman. I was thinking about my coach telling him the bad news. And I just, there were some tears for sure. Try to hide them in the best I can, try to stay positive. Just kind of holding on to the good things that I've heard. And, before I make a judgment in my mind, I wanted to obviously go through this process, get the surgery out, and all that stuff. So,
yeah. So, I guess we could do the doctor's perspective of how the surgery went, and then go into you waking up. So, how was both of those?
Good. I mean, not to brag, but I take surgery like a champ. It's not that I enjoy it by any means.
You have a little bit of experience with surgeries, though. How many surgeries have you done?
Probably, I've been under the knife maybe 15, 16 times. God. So, I mean, I've had, most of them were with my feet. One, I tore an ACL once, and then I had something with my finger, but yeah, I'm used to it. I'm used to the anesthesia. Obviously, it's nothing enjoyable about it. The whole hospital experience, there's nothing enjoyable about that. But the doctor came and talked to me, and explained that the surgery went well. I asked him, where did you make the incision? Because if it was in around the tibia, that's my moneymaker when it comes to running. And I says, he says, no, this was an incision on soft tissue. I looked at the bone. It looked healthy. I did have to scrape bacteria off the bone. So you're going to feel some pain for quite some time on your bone. But other than that, it looked like it was still alive. We'll do some more checks here a little later on. I'm going to have an infection specialist from University of Utah, Salt Lake, for you to go visit. That will kind of determine the results, the culture, look at some of the MRI to determine whether the bone health is going to be stable, if there's going to be long-term, or if it had died and you would obviously lose that. So overall, surgery went well. They got the abscess out. I stayed in the hospital for about 3 nights, and they got me on
3 nights.
3 nights, yeah. Got me on antibiotics, IV, and then they switched me to a PICC line, which then goes through my arm and then drips through my heart, and then I got to go home. So,
wow. Now, you haven't been able to walk on that since.
Oh no. Yeah, I mean, I can walk on the right side, but the left side, no, it's wrapped up. There's stitches and stuff in there. So
right, and I think today, May 21st, is the first day that you actually were able to get in the pool.
Saturday. I went in Saturday. So earlier last week, I got the stitches removed, and then I've actually been wrapping the limb because I didn't want it. He didn't really want it to be completely submerged, so I've been wrapping it in tape and keeping it dry while I swim. And it's worked out just fine. But last week, and this is the good news. Last week I went to the University of Utah. They got all the results. She evaluated the type of bacteria. It ended up being a double infection. One was a staph, one was a strep type. One was a very rare but aggressive type, but very susceptible to penicillin. So the good news from there is I didn't have to have an IV bag that I was carrying and a pump. And I had to go to the hospital.
You named that pump.
Yes, I did. I named him Hector. Good observation, because we became best friends. It was, I had to go to the hospital. I'd fill him up every day for an hour. It was a pain, of course, because I have crutches, but I just put in my backpack, and the people at the IV station, they said, hey, you got to look at this as a positive thing. What I suggest is you name your pump, because he's going to be your buddy. And that's exactly what I did. I named him Hector just because I knew a Hector that worked for my dad, that was a hard worker all the time, nonstop. And that's what this pump did. It worked all the time, nonstop. So,
wow.
Well, that's the first thing that came to my mind. It's kind of funny, but yeah. University of Utah, she gave me oral antibiotics. So we took out the PICC line. And the good news is that it was the premature. She had a technical name. I don't want to slaughter it, so I won't even attempt. It had osteo something in it, where the bone became inflamed to where it was trying to protect itself from being attacked and killed, but it didn't get to that point where it started to die. So she felt confident that the bone survived, and that there won't be any long-term effects from it. And to switch to oral antibiotics, there's nothing wrong with me. The reason why this all happened isn't because, I had a cut or a bruise. Obviously, I had a lot of naysayers and people that felt like that training for this Ironman is the whole reason why this all happened. But with that doctor behind me, she confirmed that, hey, we're all susceptible to infections. She sees amputees all the time, and people get infections just being couch potatoes. I mean, yeah, there are some risks that I need to be aware of, and maybe she gave me some pointers that might help to help reduce those risks. But overall, she was fine with me training for an Ironman. It was obviously I need to continue to be healthy. And, if I have an infection again, then maybe we need to reconsider, things like, is this worth it? But yeah, that was last week. And that was, honestly an answer to prayers for me and many other people, to get those words.
Okay. So, in case by chance there's other amputees that are listening to this, what kind of tips did she say to kind of reduce the chances for infection?
Any amputees is, the biggest things, you want to make sure your prosthetic is fitting just fine. And mine is fine. But I'm hard on my limbs. Like it's the norm for me to get blisters or cuts based on different activities I'm doing. So that's a big thing, is make sure your socket fits great, because you don't want to have consistent sores. Clean your liners on a regular basis, whether they're, I use alcohol wipes, and then once a week or so, I like to wash them with soap and water. And that just kind of helps that process. And then take care of your cuts, whether it be Neosporin, or even if you have to soak up your pride and not wear your leg while you have a sore heel, scab over. Those are just some things. And sometimes when you're training for an Ironman, I just kind of feel, I want to take the shortcut of the healing process and go through that. Now, I didn't have any cuts. She said this could have easily happened by friction, or a blister. So, there is that. Overall, it was kind of determined that this was kind of a freak situation. So,
wow. So moving forward, what does this mean? Because I know we talked on the phone last week before this, and you said that it's 100% like new skin now.
It is. It had grown so big, and then now that it had shrunk, all that skin had died. So it was like it was like a freaking reptile. It was just, everything just came off. Calluses. It was pretty gross.
So, from a training perspective, you had calluses on your stump, which helps with the ability to put more and more time on there, and that's going to impact your training, right?
Yeah, a little bit. They'll come back. Most of the calluses are going to be underneath the skin. It's just the way your body, it's not a callus, it's something else. It's just the way your body is able to adapt to the weight bearing. And it will adjust just fine.
Okay. So moving forward, is the stump going to be the exact same shape it was before the surgery? Because my thinking is, if it does change shape, that means you might have to get a new prosthetic.
Maybe we'll save that drama for your next episode.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
But I will say I can't give you an answer on that yet, because I just got my prosthetic on now, and I wear it not to put weight on it, but to try to keep that shape. And when I first put it on, it wouldn't go down all the way in. But each day I'm slowly getting closer. So I'm about, let's say maybe a half inch from getting down to the bottom. So I'm pretty close.
Okay. Well, I hope it continues to get better, and you can actually get it all the way in before we talk next time, which is going to be in about a week and a half, apparently, because I've been slacking on getting these episodes out, and I was supposed to talk to you way earlier this month, but we're talking about a week and a half again for about 20-30 minutes, I guess, and do another little catch up here. Other than that, that's like a big thing. Looking back on it, how are you dealing with all this now? And your support, has that changed or morphed any?
My support definitely has changed. A lot of people, like at church and family, they just, they just said, well, it's probably because you're overdoing it, Sid. And it's hard because there are people that are close to me that kind of, you know, I don't want to be rude and tell them, hey, you know, thanks, but I'm okay, because I care about these people. You know, in fact, one night they had a group had an actual intervention where they went around and they expressed their concerns about me continuing on to this race, and that was really hard. And there's some things that I've taken from this. You know, this is a very daunting thing, even when it has legs. But when you don't have legs, there's a lot of more dynamics, things that you need to be more cautious of. And your listeners that are Ironman triathletes, they may not agree with what I'm going to say, but I love the sport. But there's some things about it, just like any other hobby, that is pretty selfish. And I know it's a choice, put in want, and it's all about management. But there are things about it that if you're not careful, just like hunting, anything that you do, be selfish. And so there's things that, and you know, I'm planning on doing the full Ironman, obviously, still. There's things that I might want to reconsider going forward. Now, I'll always do triathlons, but to do it at this level, I want to get through before I start making decisions on the longevity of doing an Ironman after Ironman after Ironman.
Right. So, your support, I mean, that intervention, that had to be hard, knowing that you're basically not going to accept what their point of view is, because you know what the doctor said, you know what the infection specialist said, and there's nothing that you could have done to prevent this. But it seems like that your support network doesn't understand that.
They know me. They know that this is a big thing, that this purpose is great. But they also know that, you know, I dodged a bullet here. And what if I didn't have that situation? What if I did lose my knee? I'm going to lose so much mobility. In fact, experts that with amputees say that a double amputee can get around better than a single above knee amputee. And so this would limit my ability. Am I going to be able to pursue things with my family? Am I going to always, you know, those kind of things I need to take in consideration. So I agree with them to a point. You know, I need to be more cautious and maybe be more, reserved or conservative with some of my issues that I may have. But overall, they know me. They know I'm not going to quit. I think they just want to get the word out that, hey, you know, just think about this clearly. Make sure you understand the risks that you could be taking.
Right.
So,
man, this is just a lot to take in just a short amount of time. On the back end, how was the wife taking this, and did the kids understand the gravity of the situation? I know they're a little young, but they still probably know.
Yeah, they know. They're kids. They've 3 of my kids have just known me as sometimes as I have surgeries. Dad loses legs. But my oldest boy, he's obviously very concerned. He prays for me. He wrote me notes and he cares about me, asks me how I'm doing. I mean, he's just a sweet kid. My other kids are great too. And they're just so adaptive to things. It's amazing. And they're really just what keeps things positive for me is those guys. And my parents is great. My wife is great. She knows that this is, hard, and I'm hoping that she wants me to continue after this Ironman to do more, but if not, I respect her all the way. If this may be the last Ironman or attempt, I respect if those are her wishes.
Wow.
But overall, it's I think they're starting to I think the storm is starting to calm down about it.
Oh, that's good. Now, you lost quite a bit of weight. Did you gain weight to get back to where you wanted to be? Because you obviously needed to eat more because you lost some muscle there, and you probably lost some fat, but probably not too much. Are you getting your weight back under control?
Yeah, my I'm still not able to push weight on my stump that much. I mean, I use it for more balance. So I'm losing some quad strength, but my coach has me doing some stuff at the gym. I'm entertaining some of my glutes and hip flexors, and then of course my other leg I'm still to be able to do weights, and then we're doing upper body, and then of course we're getting that cardio back in the pool.
Nice. So to kind of wrap up here, what's the word of the month for April?
The word of the month for April is looking good.
Well, being that we're already halfway through May, or more than halfway through May, might as well do the word of the month for May as well.
Hold on. Keep holding on. So I get that because one of the greatest reliefs, and I feel bad because I don't normally cry unless my emotions are really on high and a lot of things that come into place. But one of the hardest things was to tell my coach because I felt like I failed him for all he's done. And I just told him, I said, this is the outcome. Best case scenario, it's going to be 8 weeks before I can walk. Stitches out here, possibly. I didn't tell him, I could lose a limb, but I just told him this is the scenario. And he says, no. So that's fine. We got plenty of time. He says, really, a lot of people that do their Ironman for the first time walk a lot of it. And he says, if we can get you strong on the bike, you're obviously a stud in the water. We'll have all day to do that Ironman. I mean, yeah, we still have a plan to run a lot of it. And the way he written it out, and we even, I even went online and kind of timed out what my transitions will be, what my, on my bike, what my average speed is going to be. I mean, I really do have all day to do a marathon. I mean, yeah, 26 miles is still 26 miles on the stump. But it was just very comforting that he was positive about it. And that was honestly the biggest thing, because I don't know. I've never done an Ironman. And he's done plenty, and he's coached plenty, even amputees. And so for him to say that, and he was positive, telling me, hey, good luck out there. And even now as I'm training, he's seeing my numbers in the pool and the things that I posted on Instagram. He's happy about that. That's really has kept my spirits high.
That's pretty awesome, man. Like, that's really good. I bet that was like a big relief off of your chest to know that he wasn't sitting there going, man, this could sacrifice everything, or it wasn't like a big negative Nancy.
Yeah, no, it was good. He was good spirits about it. It helped a lot.
Wow. Well, Sidney, I look forward to talking to you here in about a week and a half. I'm going to try to get this episode up pretty quick, maybe even tonight, hopefully by tomorrow morning at the latest. Again, how can people follow you? I know you're very active on Instagram with over 20,000 followers now. It's Try No Feet. I think there's an underscore in there somewhere.
Yeah, after TRI, _no feet.
Okay. And do you have a website yet?
No.
No?
I started one on, and I don't know. It's kind of hard to keep up with that. I've done a few things if people want to read some of my backstories, but Instagram typically has been the most. I've had lots of people request, hey, you do so many weird things with hunting and fishing and triathlons and being an amputee. You ought to do a YouTube channel. I've gotten a lot of requests for that too. But I mean, Instagram is probably something that I try to keep people posted on a daily basis.
Wow. Well, man, I look forward to talking to you here in a few days. It's like a week and a half again for May to finish up this month to kind of see what happens in the next week and a half whenever your training progresses a little bit more. That'll probably be a shorter episode more than likely, but
you never know, man. Things happen. You never know. We might have something crazy.
I mean, things do happen quick, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, I hope nothing bad happens, man.
No.
We'll talk soon, and I look forward to talking to you again, man. Thanks for allowing me to follow your journey through this year. It's been an exciting journey so far, and I look forward to continuing this with you, man. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Terry.
You're welcome. You have a good day, okay, man?
You too.
All right, bye. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Follow-Along series. Don't forget to check back next month to follow this athlete's progress. Please leave a review over on iTunes and check out my websites to see pictures from this athlete.